Welcome to the Lived Experience Podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Tamia Ryan. And as always, I'm bringing you stories of creativity, resiliency, and entrepreneurship. Today, we're diving into the topic of love, art, and determination. I have Dennis and Tessa here from DSTNCT Art Media. And their story is one that really spans global uncertainty, love, and also just connections at a personal and professional level. We'll explore how they came together, where they started, and where they're going. So thank you so much, Dennis and Tessa. I'm so glad to have you here today on the
Thank you so much for having me.
podcast. Yes, to talk about your experiences and your journey. So thank you so much.
Thank you for having us, Doctor.
So let's just dive right into it like always. Dennis, can you just take us back to the beginning? Where did this all start? Take us back to 2021. How did you end up staying in the United States versus going back to Canada?
Well, I was working for a company here as their head photographer, and I've been so maybe about 5 years in at that time. And we had a show in Atlantic City, and a bunch of people go there to compete, and she was one of them. It was a fitness pageant-style show. We managed to bump into each other.
Nice.
Yeah, can you give her more context about how?
Oh yeah, so I missed my flight, so I got to the hotel like super late, and I saw the owners of the competition. Just kind of went up there and introduced myself, and then they introduced me to him, and then he got stuck with me.
So what was your first impression of him when you met him?
He's kind of dorky. No, I just thought he was like a really sweet guy. Like, he didn't really have great pickup lines. Like, he told me, I remember we were riding up the elevator and I was like, "Oh, you have a nice jacket." And he's like, "Thanks. My jacket has the sweat of 1,000 babes in it." And I was like,
Because I used to use that jacket on photo shoots.
yeah. I was like, okay.
I'm on the models.
And then he texted the other compliment he told me. He's like, "You have a really cute nose." And I was like, okay. And then we went out to dinner. And
so you were trying, Dennis. You had your pickup lines ready to go.
I wasn't trying that hard, though.
You're like, okay,
Yeah.
I'm going to reserve the best ones.
Yeah.
well, he doesn't have, but I think that's what was cute. I was like, oh.
Yeah. It was from a genuine place. Yeah.
Oh, like, he thinks these are going to work.
So how did this relationship evolve then? So you meet, it's kind of like this awkward exchange, you're seeing each other. How did it go from that to this full-blown on relationship?
I hung out with him after the show. I was like, "Let's go get married." And then he actually agreed to that.
She was like, "I think you're my soulmate.
Yeah.
I want to travel the world with you and do whatever it is that you do."
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay.
So then he agreed, and then he came to California to visit me, and we just went to Vegas and got married.
Yeah, that was about a month later.
Yeah.
You just decided to elope and do it. So what were the thoughts like running through your mind? Like, after you've done it, are you like, do you have this moment of regret, or are you like, okay,
well, it's kind of like, not regret, but it's like, it's hard in the beginning. You just like barely know this person, you bump heads, and you haven't spent a lot of time together to know how to work things out. So you have to fight through things, and then you just learn from each other.
In the beginning, or still now?
Beginning.
I was going to say, I'm sure it's an ongoing process to really like, okay, because you didn't really have like that stage in the beginning where you really probably had any challenges really yet, right? So, which is common in even couples that have been together for a while. So you get eloped, you get married. Now, how does the business now come into play? Like, how do you now start to say, all right, we're going to work together professionally? Or was that something you were already thinking about doing?
Well, it kind of came up in the conversation when we
Mm-hmm.
met. And so I kind of had that in mind. So at that time, I was still working as a head photographer for the company.
Mm-hmm.
And at the shows, we would hold photo shoots for the models there. And I took her to the shoots with me.
Mm-hmm.
And she just had this knack of like, styling people, getting them to feel comfortable. She started with just like adding accessories here and there around people,
Mm-hmm.
or choosing their outfits for them, because sometimes they'll bring a lot of outfits on set and it's too much. And it was great because I could focus on what I do best, which is lighting, photography.
So how did that to the business came about because the company he was working for, they were very frustrating people to work for. And one from the beginning, I didn't like them at all.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, they were like very controlling to him, and even to the point where he was teaching me how to shoot. Um, and we were shooting someone that also competes. And it's like we'd get messaged from them being like, "You can't shoot this person," and I'm like, "I can't shoot this. I
Right.
don't even work. I don't even work for like what like." So they're very controlling with
Okay.
his craft, and like it was like they forbid him to work outside of anything that they would do. And I was like, "This is not fair. This is
Right.
you're not being paid to be owned by someone else. You're a
Mm-hmm.
subcontractor for these jobs, and for them to forbid him from working outside of their company was very frustrating. Because they had a say on what we do. And I just feel like it was very limiting to us as creative people. So I think that's why even before the company kind of went under,
Which I
we
did
had
last year.
we had already started our own business because that was the plan, was to be able to start marketing ourselves outside of this, not
Mm-hmm.
just being completely reliant on this company that I really felt like were doing some really screwed up things. I didn't think it was okay. I didn't think it was fair.
Yeah.
Um,
What put them under was a lot of controversy last year.
yeah, and they were not good people. They didn't treat people. Same thing. Like he worked for them for 15 years, and they didn't treat him well. So
Yeah.
a lot of people had the same stories, right, about them.
Right.
So luckily, we had already started our business, which is kind of the only saving grace. Like we had already incorporated our business. We had already made these, planted the seeds ahead of time. Not that
Mm-hmm.
we're like in a super great position now, but we would have been in an even worse position if we didn't have our business incorporated, if we didn't have
Right.
anything set up beforehand. So luckily,
Yeah, it was pretty crazy because we foresaw that the business wasn't gonna last, but
Okay.
we didn't anticipate that it was just gonna
yeah.
vanish overnight,
Yeah.
and that was like pretty hard to adjust to.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's
But
like you're getting into this relationship, and then you have these business challenges also happening at
yeah.
the
Yeah,
same time.
yeah,
Yeah.
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 And how did that affect you relationship wise? Because it sounds like, and Tessa, I love it because you're like, I'm supporting my man. Look, you need to do this, you need to do that. And, I love that you were supporting one another through that. And it was like, it sounds like you were pulling out the best in each other, and
I like
that's awesome to see.
Yeah.
I like to see that. But how did you balance that? I mean, working together, but then it's like you've got this professional mess going on. Is that trickling into the relationship any? Like, how are you balancing that?
it's really hard because we're very, very different people.
We're like the complete opposites.
And to the point where that is very frustrating to deal with because I'm very I have very, very strong boundaries with people, and if people do something
Okay.
that I don't like, I like to address it immediately.
Mm-hmm.
Like especially with his former employees, employers.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, say something to them to address this issue. You need to tell them that things aren't right. Where
Mm-hmm.
he kind of doesn't like to cause any waves in business, like
They
so
don't
that's
listen anyways.
it doesn't
There's no
like for
point.
me, and it's something that we still fight. I'm like, it doesn't matter if someone listens. You need to for yourself say,
Mm-hmm.
this isn't like, this is someone, I just feel like there's a lot of situations in which I think people try to take advantage of Dennis, of all photographers. And I'm like, you need to address that. And you need to say like, no, this is my value and this is what I deserve. And you can't treat me like that. But, I have no problem doing that. I think Dennis really is the polar opposite, where he's like, no, just let it go. I don't want to cause any waves. I don't want to lose an opportunity, which I'm like, I don't care about losing an opportunity if it's messy. If it's crossing my boundaries, then I'm not going to care if I lose that opportunity, because that's creating like some turmoil inside me because it's crossing my boundaries, right? It's doing something that I don't agree with. I don't, and so if I don't agree with it, I can't go along with it in business, right? So we fight about that a lot in business. And I think the truth falls somewhere between us. I can be a little bit too quick to say, no, that person's taking advantage of you, whereas he sometimes has done things that have grown into an opportunity by doing stuff for free or doing stuff, like sometimes that has grown into an opportunity, whereas I'm very quick to say no, that person's doing something bad. So that,
I think it also has to kind of do with what do you call those societal roles?
Gender roles.
Yeah, where it's like my primary concern is security. Like if I lose an opportunity and lose money, then she's in trouble, right? She's the one I have to take care of, and my family. But her concern is not that.
No, it's both. See, this is where we argue. Like, in the long run, for me, I like to say, like, if you establish yourself as someone who is not going to be taken advantage of from the get-go, you're going to eventually develop relationships with clients that respect you that way. If someone, like, we worked with someone locally who's like, yeah, sure, I'll pay you $20 an hour for both of us. So I was modeling and he was taking the photos, $20 an hour. That equates to $10 an hour for him and for me for a job. That's ridiculous. That is so low, and that is not okay. And she was extremely picky. And like, this was something that to me was a red flag, but he, was like, oh, well, it's some money, it's whatever. But eventually down the line, she kept taking, like, it was like, it escalated in how she would interact with him was completely inappropriate. Like, she would travel across the country and then tell him to like do all these things that wasn't like do assistant work. And I'm like, why is she asking you to deliver packages for you? Like, what's going on? Like, she tried to do that with me, and I literally set my boundary with her. I said, you will not talk to me that way. I'm doing you a favor. So I kind of cut off everything with her from the get-go, but he was kind of like, give her a chance. It's some money. And like situations like that where but that happens a lot, right? So like situations like that does cause stress in our marriage too, because I'm like, you can't let people treat you that way, period. Not just from business, but as a person. I don't like to see people taking advantage of him, not just from a business, but from him as my husband, someone taking advantage of, taking his time, right? Because a lot of people, I think, don't value what he does and won't pay him for a job. And I see how much he works. He works like 24 hours, not 24 hours, but from the time he wakes up to the time he goes to bed, he's working. So for me, that amount of work needs to be justified and it needs to be compensated. So
my perspective on this is that I'm not from the United States. I just pretty much got here. I just got my green card last year. So I didn't even have credit until early this year, or no, I got my card probably midway last year. I was only able to get a card in December, thank God. I like worked on the credit as fast as I could to try to get some sort of credit to And I don't have a lot of opportunities. Like I worked for one company, who was, based out of Canada, and they had a branch here. So I had nothing. I just had to take everything I could. I don't want to be making, you know, minimum wage or less,
$10 an hour.
right? But it's something. I got to do something for my family. I can't just sit by and be like, as they say, beggars can't be choosers. You know what I mean? So it was really tough. Like I had to make some sort of money.
Yeah.
So
And
yeah.
we have, and it reminds me of my husband. I've grown to be more assertive, but I was similar in that way where I'm like, okay, just let it go. I don't want any conflict with my husband. He's from New York, so he's like, no, we're gonna do this. We're gonna say this. We're gonna do this.
Can't survive in New York. And
Yeah, and so like over time, I think like it's kind of nice because I think we've learned from one another, right? And it's like I've learned how to be more assertive in ways, and he's learned how to kind of okay, like you were saying, like okay, I'll be patient a little bit. I'll wait and see how this plays out, but I'm still gonna speak up. Like I'm still gonna say something. I still want to support you, and I think that like comes over time too. Like as you continue to learn one another. So it's nice to hear that you like are self-aware of that because I think a lot of couples aren't self-aware of like where their differences are and then they just continue to clash. But like yourselves, each other, but you're still able to compromise, in those ways.
Yeah, I feel like I can definitely say that she's made me a stronger man,
Yes.
which I'm super thankful for. I need to be like, especially right now where things are tough for everyone.
Yeah.
You need to be strong. Yeah.
Growing up, my mom would always tell me that I'd cut my nose to spite my face.
Yes.
I feel like as an adult, I've always done that. Like I've gotten in trouble in work and in all these different situations because I'm like, no, I'm going to stand up for what's right.
Right.
It's like I'm going to get in trouble for doing that, Tessa, and I don't care because it's the right thing to do, and like, that's what I value. So I think that I need to maybe do that in a better way, or there's a nicer way to do it. So there's a learning to find a balance is definitely good.
That balancing part because it's like you're still who you are, you're still standing up, but sometimes it's like we work on the delivery of how we do things, and that works with being assertive too. Because like I would always like refer to myself as being like a nice person, and I've shifted from that to being like a kind person because like I don't need to be walked over. I can still be kind, I can still show empathy, but that doesn't mean I have to be like a doormat, for people too. So like you said, balance is the key part with that.
I think it's great that we're both strong in our own thing, and then we kind of balance and learn from each other. Yeah.
Tell me a little bit about your business, Distinct Art Media. What are you doing now, and where are you hoping to go in the future?
Well, when we started and all this, stuff happened, I just cast the widest net I could. I am a jack of all trades by nature. I come from a graphic design background. I've just done so many different things in my life that I said I'm just gonna try anything and everything right now. So I started getting into video, which I'm loving now. I love shooting videos and editing videos. She started also shooting some videos and editing videos, music videos. And by chance, she met a Hollywood director who moved recently to Florida. That didn't work out, but that gave her a chance to see that she could do directing if this person could do directing.
Yeah, the guy ended up being a real piece of work. But, I think the important lesson to learn from that and what I took from that, because I was like, oh, he was like promising both of us work for months. And then it was kind of like I actually went and did something with him, and he like didn't. I was like, this is someone who's like made films, and he literally was filming me and another actor with his cell phone, and I was like, this is so, and like there's like no script involved. It was really awful, but what I learned from that is that I feel like I would like to do something like that. I've always wanted to write or like create stuff like that. So I'm like, you know what? Maybe why this person was brought into my life is to show me like this person from the outside looked like he had his, has these things to his name. But, I met this person personally and was like, freaking hell is going on?
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, why can't we do something like that? I feel like I like to come up with ideas. I like to come up with concepts for, I don't know, like movies or a series. And he likes to film. It's like we don't really have a barrier to entry as far as being a creative team. So I'm really hoping that I have a concept now that I'm working on. I just have to sit down and write something.
There's a couple.
I have exactly a concept, but I have to sit down and write it because I think also too, like that's where we want to go is get more into.
Maybe you can talk about what you want to do with the documentary. She has a notes plaster thing on for a reason.
We would like to get into more because with photography, like talking about the business side, photography is what he loves and he's really good at. But I also feel like moving in the future, as far as business and business opportunities, the world of entertainment is getting to where a lot of people self-produce series and put it on YouTube. And like, this is where the world is going, that a lot of people can create their own stories, right? It's not to where the only things that we can create for entertainment is in Hollywood. Like a lot of people just create their own stuff. So I feel like that could be like, I would like to do, this is my 4th surgery on my nose. I had really bad experiences with doctors and it's like, I feel like I've connected with a lot of people who have had similar experiences. So that's something that I want to make, even just like a self-produced documentary and then other things. But we would like DSTNCT Art Media to go kind of in that way. Just like we'll always love photography, and that's really where his passions, started. But he also is starting to really like videography and cinematography, which I do feel like, as far as making money, as far as putting stuff out there, that might be a little bit more of a future in that. Photography will always be there, but a lot of this AI stuff is really, I think that it's affecting the market. It's not going to completely ruin the market, but it is affecting the market, and that product photography, commercial photography is all being replaced by AI already.
That can be.
Right.
So
but people photography is never going to go
It's
away.
not going to, but there's a lot of, I don't know, I guess in the future, I feel like trying to get into more cinematography is a little bit better of a business choice.
Why not go there?
So what are your thoughts, Dennis, then on you feel like, because what I'm hearing Tessa say is like photography is always going to be the root, the passion, but we need to also have like diverse streams of opportunities kind of out there to see. What are your thoughts on that? And kind of just also what Tessa said about AI, because I know that it's taken over.
Yeah. Well, I've never intended to have a business and just be us,
Yeah.
Like if you want to accomplish things, you have to have a team, you have to have people. Right. So, I mean, I want to free up my time to do more of the things that I want to do. I'm not like I just like to do different things all the time.
Yeah.
Right. I just need that, like the novelty, that kind of like stimulation from new experiences. So I'm always going to be bouncing back and forth between video, photo, graphic design.
Right.
So
different things.
Yeah.
But
I don't think AI is going to replace photography of people, because people are real. That you can't replace.
There will be a certain part that will be, and it's already has been.
The power of photography doesn't lie in just a beautiful photo. It's about telling a story, about being real, about documenting a certain time. You know, like people, like family photos are never.
People. So like this is my, and this is what this is obviously something we argue about. So there is an area that, you know, like newborn photography, wedding photography. Of course, those aren't going to be replaced by AI, but when you take a saturated market of photographers and then you eliminate a huge portion, and also you're eliminating a huge portion that pays well, commercial photography would pay well. AI is replacing commercial photography. And that was actually a really great, like even with modeling, and like people would be like, oh, get into commercial because that is the job that pays. Now everyone's being replaced because the decisions are made by people with money, and they're not going to be like, it's a story. We love art. They're going to be like, this makes sense for us to use AI because it's a monetary decision. So sure, let's replace the photographer with an AI and we'll get thousands of image, and we don't have to spend the time, the money, and all these resources to get the same image or less images, right? Like that's the reality. Is you're taking a saturated market, you get rid of a good portion of that market. So no more product, no more commercial. Eventually, now there still is.
I don't think there's one photographer out there where it's like, oh, I want to shoot commercial images. That's for money.
There's photographers that made a lot, and so
no.
I think when you eliminate, it's just a numbers game, right? Say even let's just reduce it down to say there's a group of 100 photographers, and now you get rid of 50 jobs, right? That was commercial and product photography, and now all those photographers are going after wedding. And now everyone's going to be going after the same jobs, right? So you just make a very, very saturated market of photographers now, right? And that's to me what I see happening. And just the ease of cameras. People are being like, why am I going to pay hundreds of dollars for a photographer when I could do it with my phone? Like these are just conversations that people have, right?
It doesn't translate because photographers that are taking photos of products and doing commercial work don't necessarily want to do shoots with people. They don't know how to direct people. That's not in their skill set. They don't want to do that. Right?
Anyway,
you know what I mean?
This is where the different perspectives, you're like, no, it's not going
like me being more of a portrait fashion photographer. I don't want to do, you know, product photography or commercial photography all the time.
I will say that jobs are getting harder for photographers, and I don't think that is something that you can argue with. I think it's just fact. It's just fact. The fact that there are a ton of jobs that are getting replaced by AI. It's not debatable. It's just fact. And what you have to do is think about, you know, like these writers that are getting replaced by AI. It's just like, you can't sit there and argue it. It doesn't make sense. You have to see, and you have to pivot and find out another way that you could maybe use the technology to help you in the future, right? It's just what's going to have to happen. And unfortunately, I will say it's unfortunate that people like those AI images. There's a lot of images that are enhanced by AI, and I personally don't. I personally love, like, Dennis is very like raw and doesn't do a ton of editing. But unfortunately, people see this sky that's AI edited and added it into a random bird that's been put into a picture, and they're like, "Oh my god, that's so amazing!" I'm like, "No, that's not. That's not even real." Right. But people like that stuff.
Well, so it goes back to like people not wanting to be comfortable with imperfections. And it's like, Dennis, when you take a photo of someone, it's like you said, that rawness, Tessa, in a photo where you see the slight imperfections, that's what makes us unique. But if we can just filter out everything that we don't want, it's like, now we're all the same. Now, where's the individuality in that? So I think that's why, like, there always will be like that need for real photography, and people will get their quick fix, off of AI, get that. But there's always going to be a need for it. But I like what you said about using technology to make your business better. I'm not going to run from it. I'm going to use it as an assistant, but it's not going to replace, that raw work that I'm doing.
He uses AI editing tools. So I feel very passionate about him not using the AI to put in all the other crap because it just
Right.
annoys me. People show me photos and be like, look how great that photo is. I'm like, that looks completely computer generated. Like it
Right.
doesn't speak true to me at all. It doesn't
Yeah.
take in all the beauty that's actually there. Like for us, when we get a photo of someone on the beach and there's a beautiful sky in the background, it's because he worked hard to get that and expose that and plan that. And we
Right.
did all of these steps to make it happen. He didn't go to the computer and be like, oh, cloudy sky in the background. It's like, no,
Mm-hmm.
the work that we do tells a story. And it's one of these things that I get really frustrated by because I feel like all these quick fixes, all these AI things, it's literally exposing people to these images that are not real. And
Mm-hmm.
now they're like, oh, I saw a breathtaking image. And it's like, no, you didn't. You saw a false created
Right.
picture. And now something real doesn't look as impressive, right? So now
Mm-hmm.
we're creating this threshold of images. They have to look, the colors have to be like this, the background has to be like this, has to be
Right.
some it's like unrealistic expectations to
Right.
where if you show a photo, like maybe, like look back at like 90s photographers that didn't edit their photos and put anything, people are
Mm-hmm.
going to be like, oh, I don't see anything good in that, and it's just like,
Right.
it's just not like people who know can tell. Like
Mm-hmm.
Dennis doesn't look at images like that and get impressed, but
Right.
the large majority of people who aren't educated about
Mm-hmm.
photography are just impressed by bright colors and AI crap that's been put into the photo, you
Yeah.
know?
And with your idea of the documentary, why that's so cool, because it's like those are real stories. Like you can't fake that. Like this is
Yeah.
like real people's lives, their stories, and there needs to be more of that because there is so much of social media just kind of driving the narrative of this is what it should be and this is how your life should be. And so I love that you're hoping to expand into that realm. So that's cool, and I'll definitely be checking it out because I love documentaries and I love hearing stories and real people's stories. What advice would you give to other couples that are thinking of starting a business together?
Don't do
Prepare
it.
to
No.
bump heads. Yeah, be prepared to bump heads.
Uh-huh.
um, I honestly think, like, to be completely honest, I feel like it's not for everyone.
Yeah.
It's definitely I don't want to be here and romanticize it and be like, it's so great. It's not a
Right.
lot of times. And,
Mm-hmm.
for us, we never really stop talking about work. We could be in bed and be like, this is a great idea or this. So
Yeah.
really think long and hard. Like if you enjoy your moments where you aren't talking about work, then it's probably not for you because
Mm-hmm.
everything for us, everything, especially in the beginning where business is hard and it's, a failure in business can also feel like a failure in your marriage. So
Mm.
versus if I just worked for him and I wasn't married to him, I could separate my personal life from the business. If we're not getting business, it doesn't mean anything to my personal life, but because we're married, our personal life is intertwined in our business. And
Mm-hmm.
business failures can feel like personal failures and personal failures can feel like business failures. There's no separation. So
Yeah.
it's something to think long and hard about, and whether or not you can withstand the fights, because there's a lot of
Mm-hmm.
fights.
Yeah.
And it's really hard. It's also very rewarding. There's, when we do have successes, there's no one in this world I think deserves more than Dennis.
Mm-hmm.
I think he's so talented and he works so hard and he's been through so much. And also seeing the way he's been treated by people,
Mm-hmm.
that when there is a success, I'm so, so happy. Like, and it means so much more. So
Yeah.
I feel like the highs are higher, but the lows are also lower, you know?
Yeah.
That's
It's a good thing. I think. Yeah, you definitely need one person who's very stable. As stable,
that's him.
almost as stable as a rock. Yeah, it's hard for me. It's hard to discourage me. I never feel like a failure. I'm always just chasing after my dream. Like I can't. There's something inside me that won't let me give up. Absolutely. Like even in the most like dismal days, or I just feel like nothing's going. Everything is wrong. I just won't give up. I won't.
I'm a little bit more erratic.
Yeah. Sometimes you're like, I'm gonna take over the world.
Yeah.
And then the next day she's like, oh no, nothing's ever gonna happen.
Even sometimes within the same day, I'm like, we're gonna get
in the same hour.
And then
the same 10 minutes.
Like, what's wrong? And I'll be like, I can't do anything. So it's I guess it's finding a balance. It can work, but it's one of those things that don't underestimate the amount of work that it takes and the emotional toll that it does take, because it's the best and worst thing all at the same time.
You have to be strong. Yeah. Both of you have to be strong in your own way.
And I imagine having that communication is important too, like just being able to talk about
learning how to communicate. Learning how to communicate, because you don't want to walk on eggshells as well,
Right.
You want to really know how both of you feel.
Yeah.
Well, this was just a fun conversation. You both, are just a fun couple, beautiful couple, just doing big things, and just honest, and I appreciate that, because like you said, you weren't going to come in and say, oh, this is just all, balloons and clowns and everything's wonderful. It's like, there's some stuff we deal with, but I think you always bring it back to the center. You always bring it back home. And is there anything you'd like to leave the audience with, just about your company, about your organization, where you're taking things in the next few years? Just anything you want to share. Where can people find you as well?
We're definitely South Florida based. We're doing photography, videography. What we offer is really unique because Dennis is this amazing artist and more serious, silent type. I do styling and model coaching with our models and our clients. I'm basically there just to help people feel at ease, because sometimes photo shoots can be a very tense situation. Not everyone enjoys photo shoots. A lot of people sometimes just need it for work or something. So part of what I do is just to make people feel comfortable and coach them through something that they, as soon as you bring out a camera, sometimes people just shut down. So I'm there to help with that, so he can focus on getting, everything from the artistic eye, and I'm just more of like a people person. So really, when we work together, that's a really important part that we believe in, and that offers a really great experience, because really people take memories and experiences with them, and they'll remember how someone made them feel more than an image, actually, right? So that's a really big part of what we do. We do events, corporate headshots, modeling, portfolios, pretty much everything right now. He's even doing real estate at this point. So we haven't really niched down, but it's just because we do just love to work with everyone. So yeah.
I love that. Now, and I know when I was looking at your site, one of the aspects that caught my eye was body positivity. Can you talk a little bit about that and how like you include that in your art? Because you talked about like working with people, making them feel comfortable. And, I think with photography, people are a little shy, especially, just of our insecurities and things like that.
Yeah, I think a really important part what Dennis does is, like when you look at some images, it's people try to be like too overly sexy, because that's the only, and I feel like we're sending a message that the only way that you're going to create a good photo is if you sexualize yourself. That's kind of why we wanted to go more into fashion, because I don't want to feel like everyone has to show their butt on in a photo to make them feel beautiful. Like you can be beautiful by being vulnerable. You can be beautiful by being powerful. I wish that we would shoot with more people that weren't like, because we shoot with a lot of fitness models, but I really do wish that more people who weren't like the, ideal body type would shoot with us, because that's so many people are like, will be like, oh, I want to do a photo shoot with you, but I'm not ready. I need to diet first. I need to do this first. I'm like, that's so wrong. Like you can be beautiful no matter how you are, no matter what shape you are. Like it doesn't mean anything. In fact, like all the times that I've really shot with Dennis, like has been when I'm a heavier weight. It's the last time I did a competition, I actually didn't shoot with him at all through my prep, even when I was my leanest, because guess what? That's the time that I'm feeling the worst about myself, right? It like screws with your head so much. So some of my best photos was me when I'm heavier, and it's just, I feel like very sad to see the world and to see people say things about themselves like, I can't shoot right now. I have to lose 10 pounds before I do a photo shoot. And I just, I feel like I want more women to be like, no, I want to do it now. I want to do it to show myself that I'm beautiful no matter what. Right. And I think he does, like, and we both try to show people in the shoot, like, just have that confidence, because the thing that's sexy is confidence. It's not a perfect body. It's not a perfect, quote unquote. It's not what you think it should be. It's just someone being confident and loving themselves, right?
Yeah, I think you really have to put your trust in your photographer as well. If you like somebody's work and you hire them, just keep in mind that they're the ones that are in charge of you looking good in front of the camera, right? You just be you. That's all there is to it.
Yeah. Be unique. Be individuality. Is still so important. Where can people find you if they want to reach out to you? Calling all the plus size girls like me, get your photos, okay? Don't be shy.
I really do hate that when I hear people be like, but it's I can sometimes see, right? They see some of our work, which is fitness models, and they don't see themselves in it. But it's like, it's literally because a lot of those people don't say like, hey, I want to do a photo shoot. You know what I mean? So it makes it difficult. It's like, if you want to be a part of changing the narrative of what's beautiful, you also have to put yourself out there to be in that, right? Because the people that are reaching out are people that are, think they're in the photo shoot shape. So it's important to, if you do want to change a narrative in anything, is that you actually have to start doing it, right? Like, I believe in being very honest, because I don't think that hearing perfect stories inspire anyone, right? It doesn't. So I try to be extremely honest in everything, because that's what's missing, right? It's like, even with my nose situation, if I was like, everything is perfect, I'm like, everything's not perfect. It's horrible. It's horrible most times, right? So that's what we do. On Instagram, it's Distinct Art Media, DSTNCT Art Media. Distinctartmedia.com is our website. And we just started a YouTube channel, Distinct Art Media. Again, DSTNCT Art Media.
We just dropped all the eyes. I don't know.
Yeah, all the eyes.
Where's the eyes in our logo?
It was a cool concept, but then everyone's like, how do you say this word? And I was like, when he came up with it, I was like, yeah, that's so cool. And now everyone's like, what is this word?
This logo. Oh my god.
It's the individuality again. It's this, and I'll have your information down for everyone so they'll be able to click on it.
Thank you, Tanya.
Thank you.
And this was just a fun conversation. I really appreciate you. I'd love to have you back again as you continue to do more things. So please, everyone, just keep your eye out for Distinct Art Media. Reach out to them. They are willing to work with everyone. So I love that. And be a part of the change of the narrative. So I appreciate you saying that as well. So any last words you'd like to leave the audience with?
Yeah, this isn't our success story, but this is our origin story.
Yeah.
More to come.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mina.